Hello, this is Wes Bridle, and this is another Kingdom Calling Economic Update video. This is going to be number 4 out of 5 videos I'm sitting here doing back to back. And this is number 2, or part 2, on the hyperinflation in US dollar. All these videos are short snippets to catch you up on what's happening recently. They're addendums to the Coming Storm video, which we did, which was a full hour-and-a-half presentation on what's going on in our economy, what you need to be aware of to prepare your family. And so if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend you go and watch that. There's a link near this video to watch that for free. I'm just going to jump in now to what's been going on. The Federal Reserve was made by the courts to divulge who they lent money to in the big bailouts 2 years ago. And so they admitted that they lent money not only to our banks, because that's what we were told. Our banks were going under. We had to lend extreme emergency money to them in order to save our financial system. But it wasn't just our banks. There were 35 foreign banks included in that. And not only that, there were a bunch of US corporations that weren't banks at all, like Verizon and Harley-Davidson, that were lent money that had nothing to do with being banks that were getting hit by the situation, but they were lending money out to anyone and everyone. Part of what the courts told them that they had to do was to release the collateral that they accepted in order to secure these loans. But the Federal Reserve did not divulge that information as they were required by the courts. So I don't know, maybe that's going to take another 2 years to battle that out. They're hiding a lot of information from us, as they always do. I personally think that's a scary thing. Postal Service needs bailing out. It's a monopoly. Our country breaks up monopolies because we say that's not fair because you can make obscene profits. Yet the Postal Service has a monopoly. It is a government monopoly, and yet they can't manage to turn a profit. The reason is the unions have gotten in there. Like I think it was Porter Stansberry that made a great point that really struck me. Unions are destroying this country one area at a time. They got into the automobile industry decades ago and destroyed that industry so that now America can't compete with the other countries of the world. Now Toyota, all these different countries can come here and build cars in America because they don't have the whole union leech on the system. But our car companies have significant problems because of that. Well, now you have the unions have gone in, instead of trying to, they're slowly getting killed in the private sector because companies that are infested with unions can't compete. But the unions are now just taking over government on every level all across this country, and they're squeezing the life out of them. And the government can always just spend more, tax more. And so because they have a monopoly, they're able to go a lot longer before the whole system blows up. But as we've been talking about, that's coming to a head now. But specifically talking about the post office, I think the number I saw was the average postal employee makes $80,000 a year. And they're going broke, even though the cost of our stamps is constantly going up. So a little bit of a reason, and it's another bailout that the U.S. government is going to have to do. U.S. Treasury has seen massive sell-offs, rising rates, and basically, the market is saying they see inflation coming. Interest rates have popped up significantly higher in a very short amount of time. Another sign of inflation, Walmart raised their toy prices in December. Walmart has historically always reduced their toy prices in December in order to kill the competition. This year they raised them in order to get a profit. That's what they had to do. So we're seeing small signs of this inflation kicking in. It's slow in some areas of the economy, very quick in others. German majority opposed to the euro. This is a poll done in Germany, and most of the people there do not want to be a part of the euro. The governments in Germany have a difficult problem because, for one, they're breaking the German laws. All of Europe has broken the laws of the euro system in order to do the bailouts that they've been doing. And so they're breaking the will of the people. They're going against it. They're basically a dictatorship at this point. The German people are very against it. They understand it was only 80, 90 years ago that the German people went through a massive hyperinflation, so they still remember it as a people. They know the mistakes that are being made here, and they don't want it. But the German government is in a similar situation to what ours is. They see that their banks are owed so much money by all these other European countries that if they don't bail them out, their banks are going to go under, and there's going to be a significant depression in Germany. So they keep doing it. But what they don't understand is the lessons taught by history that the other alternative is far worse, but they continue to go down that road. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It's actually in German court. I don't know when the decision will come, but the German courts might just throw out this whole Euro adventure, and that'll be interesting to watch. The government bond auctions are failing worldwide. All these governments are trying to borrow far more money than exists out there. So they go in saying we want to borrow X amount of money, and then they leave not being able to borrow that much money. That means interest rates are going higher, and we're already seeing that. The Fed says that they need to see large improvement before they will halt the money printing. Again, we're addicted to printing. U.S. deficit in November was $150 billion. That's $30 billion more than November of 2009. So if you've been told everything's getting better, no, it's not. So the Treasury Secretary Geithner said something interesting. He went before Congress and said that if we don't raise the debt ceiling another $1 trillion, that the U.S. will default and we'll have absolute chaos. So another way of looking at that is that if we don't get another $1 trillion of debt, our country is doomed. That's a scary thing. That's a no-win situation that we're in. ECB, so the European Union as a government and as a central bank, and China are buying up the bonds of the countries themselves. You can't fix a problem of too much debt with piling on more debt, but that's what we're trying to do right now. So if you think everything's getting better, the problems that have caused this situation that we've been in for this last couple of years are only getting worse. So how exactly are things getting better? It's a mirage. The problems will be at our doorstep here soon. Wall Street banks are dumping Treasury. We have foreign countries dumping them. We have Wall Street banks dumping them. Who's buying them? Well, we know the Federal Reserve's buying them. That's, I think, the real reason the QE2 is going on is because someone has to buy these treasuries or the U.S. government defaults and will instantly be in chaos. And so the Federal Reserve is stepping up buying these bonds. It's not going to be very long, though, before the rest of the world doesn't let us get away with that and starts selling their dollars and their bonds. The Fed made an $89 billion profit in 2010. So that is an absolute record. That's a huge amount of money. But one thing I don't know is how they account for non-performing loans. They probably use a system kind of like the banks use, and they're kind of hiding some stuff. But also, Bernanke recently said he can stop inflation on a dime by raising rates. Well, what would that mean if he did that? They bought up a lot of junk mortgages over the past couple of years. So they have a lot of bad assets where historically they only owned U.S. treasuries and gold and maybe some other treasuries from some other countries. So they had really high quality assets. Well, now they bought up a bunch of trash junk mortgages that probably half aren't paying. If they raise interest rates, they immediately decrease the value of all the assets that they have on their books. And so then they could be in the situation of reporting a huge loss. Now, if the Federal Reserve is reporting a huge loss, what's going to happen? So they have a huge incentive not to raise interest rates. And not only that, but the U.S. government can't afford it. If interest rates go up, the cost of borrowing goes up significantly because the U.S. government pays very little on all that massive amount of debt they have right now because interest rates are so low. So if rates are, there's all these reasons not to raise rates. So when they sit there and tell you, oh, once things look good and we see signs of inflation, we can just raise rates, they're lying. They have multiple reasons not to do that. And that's probably why at their last meeting they said, we have a high tolerance against raising rates. Moody's and S&P both recently put the U.S. government on negative credit watch. So the U.S. government, which has always been AAA, the gold standard of bonds, is on a negative watch by the major rating agencies. I think there's probably got to be too much political pressure for them to actually change the rating on the U.S. government. If they did, that would certainly, I mean, that would be huge. But just the fact that they've done that, they're always late to the party. They didn't see Enron going down before they went down. They didn't see all these European countries going down before they went down. They're always late. But they're already looking, saying the U.S. has problems. That's another big warning sign. Thank you for being a part of this video and watching it. Again, if you haven't seen The Coming Storm, I really recommend you go watch that. It's free. It takes an hour and a half of your time, but some big things are coming down the pipe, and it's really important that you be aware of them. Again, reach out to me if I can help you in any way, and thank you. God bless you.